Welcome back. It's still Hot Seat with me, Akintayo, at the African Union Conference Center. And we're here for the Conference of Energy Ministers of Africa, CEMA, here in Ethiopia. And I also got a team of distinguished panel on energy. But I'll go back to Jean. Let's take a look at public-private initiatives. We all know that Africa has not been fully exploited in terms of energy. But I heard that there's limited policy interest and investment levels in Africa. I also heard that there are technical and financial barriers contributing to the low intakes of the uptake, of renewable energy technologies called RETs. But my concern is that how can we replicate the success achieved in Asia? I know you worked on something like that in Asia. I want you to look at how Africa can tap into that and replicate that.
Well, the experience in Asia was Asia went through an enormous growth spurt in the last decades. And I think there was a wider realization that economic growth per se is not enough. Economic growth has to be pro-poor and economic growth has to be sustainable. And I think government institutions, and especially the banks, the Asian Development Bank, came to the realization that something broader needs to be done. So the Asian Development Bank took the initiative to pull in other players, the private sector notably, and that could be in terms of equity and other financing modalities, to become part of that agenda of pro-poor and sustainable growth. And that very much materialized also in the energy sector, where they stimulated interest of private players to come on board and invest in renewable energy options.
And that's exactly what Engineer Davis was talking about, private investors coming into Nigeria. About how far have you gone? Is it really looking good for Nigeria?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And that's why we need to make a shout of it. The General Electrics recently signed an MOU with Nigeria, because when we are talking of the private sector participation, it's not only restricted to constructing the dams or assembling, installing the panels. There are a lot of areas that can be looked at. The manufacturing, the service, the maintenance aspect of it.
Distribution?
The distribution. There is market for all this in Nigeria that the private sector can always come into. For example, we don't have any place where we can have transformers, maybe in South Africa or maybe in Egypt. But we need to have all these ones in Africa. The investors can come to Nigeria, because that's what exactly the G is trying to do in Nigeria now. They want to come and establish a factory in Nigeria, whereby they can, if you have any breakdown in any of the power plants, you can always, instead of waiting for 6 months or 1 year before the parts arrive, you can always go to the power plants. So we need to involve, the private sector have been encouraged to come, and it's already happening in Nigeria. Siemens wants to come to Nigeria. There is an understanding we signed with some of these other companies, and we are using this opportunity to invite other private investors to come to Africa. There is a lot of market. We have the population over 1 billion people by estimate in Africa, and only 30% access of electricity. There are 70%. So we have the market. Investors should come, put their money not only into construction, but even into manufacturing, into service-oriented business.
Okay. Dr. Ibrahim, I know that energy availability and accessibility doesn't come free, and it doesn't come cheap. It's really capital intensive. And my concern is I don't know. We have projects that we want to attract investors. The African countries are looking forward to having investments growing in the rural areas, the urban areas as well. But what is your office doing at the AU to make sure that you harmonize this for the African continent?
Yeah, you touched a very important issue. This harmonized policies, regulations, even the capacities of the member states and the regional economic communities. You know that as African Union, we are dealing mainly with the regional economic communities, as they are also in their turn deal with the member states. So one is the regulations, because the private sector cannot come and invest if he is not sure that his investment is in the right way, the risk is minimum. The production, I mean the electricity that he is going to produce will be purchased by someone. So this area of regulations is important. Building the capacity of the countries and regional economic communities in how to prepare these power purchase agreements, how to have these independent power producers in the continents and in the region. All these areas, we need to do some work on that. And that's what we are doing, especially with the regional power pools. We are doing a lot on that, and even we have support from our partners in this area to build the capacity specifically. Another area is build the capacity and how to prepare projects, how to implement projects, how to follow up. Even the developer is someone from outside, but me as owner of the project, I should be educated and well trained on how to follow up and audit and supervise.
So it's not just the investors you are advising, you're also advising the countries?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so if I'm an investor and I have the money to invest in a place like Tunisia or Nigeria or Ethiopia, I should just come to your office and you help me out?
You are welcome.
Okay, let me go to Ambassador Ben. There is something really, really controversial around the world now. I'm talking about nuclear power. South Africa seems to be the only African country with commercial nuclear plants. But do you think Africa is ripe for nuclear power and its assets, like what we saw in Japan?
No, I think nuclear is really a very big issue. And we think also that most of the African countries, maybe except South Africa, cannot afford to have really a competitive electronuclear power plant. First of all, usually for Tunisia, for example, one single power plant, nuclear, could represent 20% of the GDP, which is very, very big. This is, first of all, on the financial and economic level. Secondly, if you have other solutions which are competitive, renewables are one of the best solutions for the whole continent, and all the region have abundant reserve for that. And one thing also could help all these countries. Renewable energy and energy efficiency together is the better choice for any country. Even with huge reserves of oil and gas, it is still a very good choice. Because first of all, it's widespread. Everyone can benefit from it. You don't have, as our colleague said, you don't have to put it really on lines, etc. You can have any kind of solution. So it's very, very smooth, very flexible. And secondly, renewable energies create jobs. There are 5 million jobs in the world. Germany, for example, where I have been ambassador, created by renewable energy more than 350,000 jobs. So this is really a big opportunity for rural areas, for villages, for our young generation to prepare themselves and to enter this. This is, I think, the best choice for a lot of reasons. Because why energy is important? Because without energy, without good access to energy, you cannot develop your economy and your society.
Yeah, Ambassador, really I like to quickly, sorry to cut you short. I want to ask Jan a very important question. Why is it that South Africa, in Sub-Saharan Africa, is doing so well that even at times when you do the statistics on the negatives in Africa concerning energy, they exclude South Africa? What is it that they are doing that other Sub-Saharan African countries are not doing, that even North Africa is also doing? Because they are putting South Africa and North Africa at par. But what is wrong with other Sub-Saharan African countries?
Well, I don't know what is wrong. I've been a few times in South Africa, and it would be a bit presumptuous for me to say what happened there. But I think apparently the incentives were there to start doing things in the right way. And I think that's what the ambassador rightly states. renewables are the future, so let's not start looking back at nuclear or other technologies. We also could skip the telephone lines, we went straight into mobile technology. I said, look at the future and let's create the incentives to indeed tap these vast resources. And I think it will create many win-win situations, because the emphasis was placed on private sector development, and I think the enormous amount of jobs which can be created in the rural areas, small enterprise development, to make improved cook stoves, to make appliances for biogas programs, which now we have run successfully a program of 500,000 installations in Asia. Everything comes from China. That should be done here. Here we should make all the appliances, here we should develop the technology, here we should develop the capability to make all these things we can contribute and work on the future. So I think we could look at other countries, at South Africa, etc. The thing would be to put the right incentives in place, the right policies, the right structures in each and every country, and let countries work together to do the right things. And I think it's possible.
Yeah, Engineer, basically, you think the other sub-Saharan African countries should take a cue from North Africa and South Africa?
Of course, yes. It has to do with the government, the stability of government. And as you are aware, most of the wars in Africa, which Her Excellency and the Ambassador can bear us out, are within the sub-Saharan area. And how can you develop when you are fighting yourself? And that's why our union is very important, so that we can create a very good climate for investment, apart from all the policies that will be developed, encouraging, provide incentives for people to come and stay in your country and do something, and they know they are happy, they will be able to put their money there.
Okay, Dr. Ibrahim, have you ever asked yourself that question? Why North Africa, South Africa, and not Guinea, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, with all the wealth of oil?
You see, the problem that even this institution, financial institution and international institution, they are separating North Africa and putting them with Middle East, yes, and also they say sub-Saharan without or excluding South Africa. No, this is what we are not accepting in the African Union. Africa is Africa with all its, let's say 55. Yes, Morocco is now not a member of the Union, but let us say it is all Africa, and that's what we are always struggling with these institutions. And we believe that in Africa we can use our capacities, our capabilities, which are available even in North Africa or in South Africa, and also within sub-Saharan Africa. There is a lot of capacities and a lot of resources that we can use to develop the continent with our efforts within the continents, not to make it this one and this one. This is for some reason to keep the statistics in the way they want it to be. No, let us deal with Africa as a continent, as a whole, with all its
Engineer BBC, I have a question for you from one of our viewers in the US. He wants to ask a very, very important question, and let me just go this way. He said Nigeria needs a minimum of 60,000 megawatts of electrical energy for sustenance to be called an industrial nation, but it generates not more than 4,000 megawatts, which is not even enough for the commercial capital, Lagos. And he's asking, with the vast resources in terms of dams, coal, and solar, which you also mentioned, what is the power ministry, or maybe energy ministry, doing to tap into all these resources and not just look into hydro?
We are not looking into hydro alone, and that's why I started when we did discussion that the country is reforming the power sector from the monopolistic institution, that's utility that we have, into a more private and market-driven power sector. And that's why we are putting we are asking even the man from, or the person who asked this question to come back home. Let him come and invest. Let him come and use his experience that he has there to run the economy of US, to come and run the economy of Nigeria and indeed of Africa. We need all that. We have all the resources. We have the human capacity, we have the financial capacity, we have God has endowed us with natural resources. Yeah. So what are we waiting for?
But Engineer Davis, I want to quickly take you up on that. A lot of Nigerians who are in the diaspora still feel that, yeah, electricity is a major problem. If you want to open factories, if you want to do anything in Nigeria, you need electricity. Even at times you go to Nigeria to visit, no electricity for weeks in some areas. So it's like, even when you tell Nigerians to come back home, they still don't believe experts like you. So I just want you, like, can you just give them the hope, the belief that they should come back home with concrete evidence?
Okay, thank you very much. For those of us who decide to stay, we have to be in the country to develop the country. We can't be developing the country from outside. So let them come first. And when they suffer what we are suffering, they can now have a solution to resolve what we are suffering. Okay. That's my answer. That's my second answer.
I like that. Well, John, on a final note, let's look at the way out. When I was doing the analysis for this show, I found out that the World Bank came up with a suggestion. The World Bank says it has solutions to Africa's energy problem. And these are the solutions. It's boosting cross-border power trade, just like we've been discussing here. Also talk about improving existing utility companies, improving access to electricity on a large scale, while helping countries who are around Africa chart low carbon growth paths. But how feasible are these solutions suggested by the World Bank?
Well, I think you heard many examples that indeed these pathways are feasible and are possible, and indeed the commitment is certainly there. And I think there are countries on the African continent who are showing that it is possible. Ethiopia is one good example of it, and the Climate Resilient Green Economy is a very good document which indeed charts the way forward in that direction. I think, again, outside players, as being mentioned here, outside players can play a role, but the initiative should be with African governments, with African Union, with African Development Bank. It should be national players coming together, charting the way forward. Yes, outside organizations can help a hand. Basically, the initiative should be driven from the continent.
Okay, so Africans in the diaspora should stop complaining and come back home and turn around the continent. And many thanks to all the experts, Ambassador Ben, Our Excellency, Dr. Ibrahim, Engineer DBC from Nigeria, and also Mr. Jean Blois. Thank you very much for coming. And on behalf of the Hot Seat team, I want to say thank you to everybody for taking part on the show. And you can visit us online, www.voxafrica.co.uk/hotseat. Remember, you can mail us, even send us questions about this topic. It's hotseat@voxafrica.com. Remember, we're still in Ethiopia, but I'll be back in London with you next week. Goodbye.